Hello, and welcome to another episode on the Move.Talk.Thrive podcast. Today, I had the privilege of interviewing Dave Jereb. Dave is a pediatric occupational therapist. He's an author and co-founder of Move Therapy Services with clinics in Sydney, the Central Coast, and Newcastle. Dave is also a good friend, and I've worked with him for many years. And we wanted to talk today about the topic of relocation. It's a topic that I think a lot of people think about, but we don't often talk too much publicly about. But a lot of people can sometimes have thoughts now at this time of year about making a bit of a move or a bit of a shift, whether that's going from the city to the country or the country to the city, or if you're having to move from where you've studied to take a job elsewhere, or whether you just want to make the move from Sydney to the Central Coast. So Dave and I have both made that move personally, and we just share our experiences. When we had our early careers, Dave moved to America, what that was like. Even just moving out of home, like that's a relocation in itself. But we also covered lots of topics around burnout, values, visions, why, workplaces, KPIs, culture, you name it. It's about relocation, but lots of other things. So I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed talking to Dave, and I hope you get a lot out of it.
We are child development obsessed business besties and mums, and we're here to spill all our secrets.
We have a combined 30 years experience working with children, and each episode we will bring you up-to-date research and evidence-based strategies to set your children up to thrive.
I'm Lizzie Dawson, Australian exercise physiologist.
I'm Emily Mackey, Australian speech pathologist,
And this is the Move.Talk.Thrive podcast.
All right, Dave, how are you today?
Emily, great to see you.
Happy birthday. It's your birthday on the day that we're recording this. I hope you've had a lovely day.
It's been a great day. Thanks so much.
We've been friends for a long time now. I was thinking about it. We first met because our clinics, like our clinic is called Speak About, your clinic's called Move About. So similar names, but we didn't know each other at all.
Same surname.
Yes, when we did that. And then my original clinic for Speak About is in Hobartville, where you grew up, right?
It is absolutely, yeah, I think it's maybe the fish and chip shop I used to walk down to.
Yeah, we
as a
fitted it
kid.
out into a speechy business.
Yeah, something like that.
And then you had a clinic in Sydney, which is where, like, similar to where we were. And then you relocated and opened a second clinic on the Central Coast. And then we relocated and opened a clinic on the Central Coast. So we've got a very similar journey, don't
The
we?
pattern here.
Yeah, I'm not copying you, I promise.
It's a good form of flattery, isn't it? Imitation.
Yeah, well, it is, right? There you go. So we've had lots of interactions over the years, haven't we? Just even with mutual ground and things that we've done.
Lots of overlap, yeah, and also with going beyond just the clinical work, obviously speaking and teaching, and I sometimes, I can let people know that I joined a group. I called Emily and said, I found this great group. I'm a bit embarrassed to say that I'm joining a group called Her Empire Builder.
Yes.
And Emily was part of that group too, but I was one of the guys in that group for a while, and that was around making online courses and how to really make them great and valuable and get them out to the world. So that was another overlap.
Yes, it was.
So you beat me to that group though.
By coincidence, right?
Completely.
When you've been around a long time and the allied health circles, if people are doing similar things, you sort of cross over, don't you, when you get to know each other?
It's a pretty small allied health world in Australia. So, be careful who you rub the wrong way, I reckon.
Well, that's what I always say. You've got to make sure you keep good relationships with people. You can't burn bridges.
You really
right?
do. There are positive reasons, not just out of fear, but everyone does. It's like 2 degrees, it's 3 degrees of separation, not 6.
Yes, it's very, very small. And then because we are in similar geographical areas now as well, we're living on the Central Coast. You live on the Central Coast. Our clinics are maybe 5 minutes apart.
Yeah,
pretty close.
Not far apart. And then, one of our OTs, her husband is your kid's teacher. Yeah, it's a small world. It is a small world.
So we have lots of connections, but But I always love listening to what you're teaching your new grads. Obviously, you focus on OTs, but then also the general allied health community as well. I always love listening to what you're teaching and saying and seeing what you guys are doing in your clinic. And I wanted to get you on to talk about relocation as a concept, right? Because
Mm.
it's sort of appropriate this time of year. People are going for new jobs, new grads going into their first job. People are thinking, do I make a change for next year? Or even within businesses, like we have offered our girls, if any of them want to relocate, because we've got the two clinics, like just having a move, just doing a shift. People start thinking about this with New Year's resolutions and all that kind of thinking. So I thought it would be a really good topic to talk about today because well, I'd love to know your story. Did you relocate before you had your clinics, like in your early years as a clinician?
Yeah, yeah, and I know we were talking about me coming on to talk about this because of the move to the Central Coast, but um, I actually graduated and moved to the US
There you
for
go, big
5 years. That was a
relocation.
big relocation, and it was exciting, it was fun, that was very exciting. I had a sister over there, my sister Jen. Some people, particularly in the OT world, might know Jen. She had a course called Traffic Jam in my brain, and she's an OT, and she was in Wisconsin. I went over there as a student and then arranged a job for myself in Chicago while I was over there as a student. But there are lots of people that send people overseas. It was cool to be able to get out and try new things and just, leave your small town behind and just start
Yeah.
fresh where no one knows you. Not that I had any sort of sordid history, M, but yeah, it was daunting and exciting and one of those things you think, how could I do it? But then you just do it
Hmm.
and it just worked. The Central Coast, on the other hand, was a kind of a funny story. We had the clinic in the hills in Bella Vista, and Kath and I came up here for a holiday, and we thought, oh, we'll go to the beach. And so we went to Avoca, and the Avoca Beach markets were on right by the beach there, and so we've got beach and surf and music playing and just a really festive atmosphere. And we ate this really delicious version of like a American s'more. It was like these super, but it was like a posh s'more, if there is such a thing. But it was just gooey deliciousness. And Kathy just looked at me and she was like, "Can we just move here?" And you know what I said to her? I said, there will never be a reason for us to move to the Central Coast. It was like it came out of me without even thinking because I was like, there's not enough work or that. And we ran a business as well. So the thought of having a second business and I just could not conceive, how could we move? How could we make it happen? Um, and a year later we were there and we were there but the universe heard that and thought, I'll show him. And so
Never say never.
never say never. Coralie Clifford reached out to us. She owned Sensibility and said, "Hey, I'm retiring. We want someone we trust with similar values to take over our Central Coast practice. Would you consider it?" And we're like, oh. And so Kath and I arranged a meeting with them. We went and visited them in their house in Glenning Valley. And we're driving in, and there's like kids with a lemonade store, and then there's a lady hosing a garden, waving to. It was like the opening sequence of Neighbours or Home and Away or something. And I was like, this is a total setup. It was just so like feel good community. And we
Mm.
were in Winston Hills, so we were in the hills. We loved that, but it was very much the burbs, and we had fences on each side and people on top of neighbors on top of each other and cars screeching down the street. And this was like same good people, but with more space and more
Mm.
trees and the ocean. Like there's this concept that we use, like it's dumb. Like people who live near the beach probably think whatever, but the idea of stopping by the beach on the way home blew my mind. I grew up in the Hawkesbury out at Richmond, and it would be like you'd plan for weeks to go to the beach. And if it was overcast, you'd just put it off. You wouldn't risk it. It was an hour and a half drive. And now we like, we'll go to the beach in like, it can be raining and we go, oh, well, just put your jackets on. We've
Mm.
done that and seen dolphins. Like we can stop by the beach on the way home.
Mm.
Such a cool concept. The other thing is I used to come up here all the time as a teenager and we go camping at Nora Head Caravan Park. Love it, love it. But funnily, I don't remember there being trees. Like all I cared about was the surf and probably girls back then. And when I came back as a grown up, I was like, it's like complete national park. So while I don't have ocean views from my house, I have tree views that feel like I'm in the Blue Mountains, but I'm 3 minutes to Avoca, 3 minutes to Copa, 10
Mm.
minutes to Max, 10 minutes to Terrigal. It's so good. There was so much variety. And it just, you can breathe. Like I just
Yeah.
walk outside and it just, the coastal lifestyle campaign that we'll probably talk about, our catchphrase there is occupational therapists deserve occupational balance too. And it just is so great to be able to do it. And it's easier than a lot of people think, I think is really what can I tell you,
Yeah. Yes.
to jump
Yes.
into it? So
Yes.
that our coastal lifestyle, and we it's all lowercase, but the O and the T in coastal are
Yeah, I like that. That was clever.
capitalized, because we are sharing it with OTs. We looked around our team on the Central Coast and we realized that most of them had moved here from the city.
Yeah, interesting.
And there were three with some great experience. One person with 30 something years experience, one person with 14, one person with 9 years experience,
Mm.
that they finally made the decision. One was returning from America and her family was in Hornsby, but they didn't want to be in the city. So this was like a nice jump to Hornsby. But the others were about getting out of their shoebox apartment in the burbs and getting a big yard, getting spacious house, getting access to national parks and to beaches. And we just saw this story happening again and again. I
Mm.
thought we need to just tell people this story. And so, is it a recruitment campaign? Kinda, but actually, we don't ever say, come work at Moveabout. We just say, the Central Coast is a really amazing place to live. Here's the story of three OTs who
Mm.
made the move, and decided to
Mm.
call the coast home. And this is why they love being here. And they share those stories, kind of short films, less than 2 minutes
They're
each.
really cool. I really enjoyed watching them. Yeah. They
Yeah,
share like, lots of nice things about family and lifestyle and work-life balance, which is what everyone is trying to look for these days. They were good.
yeah, I think that's the case. And I think that we do know life is hectic. We
Mm.
do, and we are under pressure. And I don't know which direction we're going to go in this conversation, but with changes with NDIS, businesses, it's tough both for employers and it's tough for employees. OT Australia said that 60% of OT practices were not profitable in the last 12 months. 60%.
Wow.
Right. And we like, you see the number, you're like, we're charging so much. How is that possible? But it is possible. We're paying our OTs probably 35, 40% more than we were 7 years ago when the NDIS raised its rates last.
Mm.
Um, so it is tougher for business owners.
Mm.
And I think that a lot of people are then panicking and fearful because a lot of people get into it because they're good at what they do and maybe not have the experience in business. And so they think, well, then I have to work people harder or I need to cut down on expenses. So maybe we do less supervision or maybe we give less support or maybe we buy less resources. I've sort of done the opposite. Kath and I have done the opposite. And we just invest in people. And so we invest in lots of supervision and we invest in great resources, anything to make work feel good. And that costs us a lot. So our expenses probably look a lot higher than other people per person, but we don't lose therapists the same way other people. We rarely lose therapists to another job because they
Mm.
love what they do. We're not going to, if we smash them with high KPIs and burn them out, it's very expensive to replace good people. It's also not right. Like we don't do it just because of the cost, but it
Mm.
actually ended up working out that doing the right thing, taking care of people was actually good business as
Mm.
well. And on the
Mm.
Central Coast, there was the added perk that I got to live up here as well. But it's
Yeah,
true at the other clinics as well.
it's so important. I think this, like what you've said, is I think a really good starting point for people to reflect on really what their values are and what they want for their lifestyle slash life. And, sometimes is it like the rat race? You get caught up a bit in the rat race, maybe more in Sydney, but, the rat race could be anything when you're just sort of not thinking and you're just mindlessly going through the same tasks and sort of on a bit of a wheel or a hamster wheel. So it's really good to sort of stop. This is the time of year to sort of do that and think, okay, what do I want my life to look like for next year? And that has to align with your values, right? Because if you're disaligned anywhere with your values, then that then leads to burnout and dissatisfaction and things like that. So if you're like everything that Dave said, which and everything you said resonates with us because we have made the move up to the Central Coast as well. But if you're sort of looking at what you want from your life, and this is sort of, if you're a student going into, so you might be like, what's a student graduating? 21 to 22, you may be a little bit older, 23, 24, 25, or you may be 30s or 40s and you're being a professional for a while and you're thinking, what am I doing next year? What does that look like for me? It's looking at, well, what do I value? Like, what stage of life am I in? I feel like when I look back at my life when I was in 21, 22, 23, I used to travel heaps. I didn't relocate for work, but I had this thought like a couple of weeks ago, why didn't I relocate for work when I love travel? Like every 6 months I would travel. And I did that when I graduated for a period of like probably 5 years. I had to stop when I got the business, when I opened the business up. But I love travel so much. I don't know why I didn't put travel and work together and
Mm,
relocate, but I wish sometimes someone had said to me, "Oh, you can like relocate now because these are the years to do that when you're younger and when you can." Whereas, you can still move when you're older. We've moved now, but it's just a little bit more a little bit more thinking into it. Whereas, you move to America and it's like, okay, I'm going to do that. I've got no kids, no mortgage, no house, no
mm.
family. I can sort of do that. So it's looking at what your values are, no matter where you are in your life, and how you want your life to look like. And the biggest topic, like all of our podcast episodes, the ones that gets the most interest are burnout
Mm.
and, longevity in the career, in career paths and things like that. And I think it's a really big topic for people because they're always talking about, okay, high KPIs, high billable hours, et cetera, et cetera. But you've also got to look at what's happening outside of work, and
Mm.
that's lifestyle and where you live and how you spend your time. Can you drop off at the beach if that's what you like? Can you go for a bushwalk? Do you sit in traffic every day for 2 hours? Is
Mm.
that contributing to you feeling dissatisfied with your life? Um, it's all these sort of factors, isn't it?
I mean, it absolutely is. And we'll go to the beach sometimes for lunch, and sometimes you get out of the habit, and then we go, why haven't we done that? And so then we jump in the car, and Shelley Beach is 8 minutes from
Mm,
work. So good.
yeah.
Can I give you my quick hot take on burnout that I think we've
Mm,
sort of lied to people about?
absolutely.
I think what I think we've lied to people about is the idea that it's this work-life balance is about the
Mhm.
number of hours that you do what you do. And I sometimes see people cut back their hours to get work-life balance, cut back their hours, and they still don't find it. And I think the reason is it's more than that. It's about actually finding it meaningful, which is such
Mm,
an OT word, but finding meaning in your work, meaning when you're not at work. It's about being 100% present at work and being
mhm,
100% present not at work. Uh, there's a
mm.
famous guy, and I'll probably butcher his name. Don't try to read it. Csikszentmihalyi, I think Csikszentmihalyi. He wrote
Okay.
Flow. Flow is the concept, and it's about when you feel in that state where you sort of lose track of time, you're so immersed in things. And it really is the core of meaning. People are more likely to be in flow at work. People who
Mm,
find flow. There's lots of people who don't find flow. So it doesn't mean your work inherently gives you flow and that work always gives flow. But there is something about the just right challenge and being immersed and being present and being skilled at something that I do think doing less of something doesn't make you more skilled. So one of the problems is like I hear new grads saying, I think I want to start out part-time because I really care about work-life balance. And the thing is, you start out and it's new and exciting. You're in that unconscious incompetence. Then you go, oh my God, there's so much I don't know. That's your conscious incompetence. And people sometimes burn out or drop out or quit at that stage. They're taught, oh, if it's too hard, maybe it's not meant to, not for you. It should come easily. And it's like all the important things are hard. Then there's the ones that push through that. They get that they have to push through that and they get to conscious competence. And that's where I can do it, but I have to think about it. And sometimes then they go, oh, but I'm still exhausted. It mustn't be for me because even though I can do it now, I'm still exhausted. And the problem is, yes, you can do it, but you still have to think about it. You got to go one step further to unconscious competence. And that's when I can do parts of my job without even thinking about it, right? I've got Tuesday afternoon because I know Joey, Johnny, and Frank really well, and we're just in a groove and we do the same things, but then I push them to the next level for them. I'll add a new thing and it'll be this. And I just can do it. And I'm just doing great therapy by being present in the moment. Time flies when you do those therapy sessions when you're in the groove. Or I'm really great with kids with this clinical profile or this age group. And you start to build a bank of things that you have the muscle memory that they just go easily. And that's when you get that flow experience at
Mm,
that level. But people quit in the dip, right, of the roller coaster
mm,
in those harder times. And they don't get to that stage of unconscious competence where you can just do it without thinking, where you start to get to your zone of excellence and even zone of genius. And I guess the one step further is the reflective competence. And so that's where you can do it without thinking. But if someone asks you, you can explain what you're doing. And
mm.
I always say you get a little taste of that when you have your first student. When you have your first student and they say, "Oh, why'd you do that?" And you go, "Oh, well, because of blah, 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 blah." And then you go, "Wait, did anyone record that? Did anyone hear how smart I was?" Right? Because you have that tacit knowledge, that knowledge inside you now. You don't have to think through everything. And so I do want to encourage
Mm,
people. The quickest route to burnout is to get really good,
mhm,
right? I know that seems counterintuitive and it might take more hours initially to get really good, but the longer you take to get really good, the more you're in that, oh, this is so hard, I'm not good enough, or you get
mm,
into the, oh, I have to think about every single thing. And so that's one of the key things for me in terms of the work part.
mm,
And then, yeah, I do think that if you value nature, if you value time out to yourself, if you can find those things where you drive home looks pretty or you're not in bumper to bumper, that makes some of those other pieces outside of work just like easier to get mindfulness and easier to, like, I go for a run, not on the beach, I go for a road run, but I run along the beach so I can see the ocean. That's so cool. Like, that is mind blowing for a guy who grew up in the Hawkesbury. So the other thing is admin burns people out, and that's not really about relocation. But if you can find AI, I have to give a plug to our friends at Everbility here. All our therapists have Everbility to help them with their treatment notes, but getting on top of admin will do it too. It's not just about the hours.
mhm,
And then bring it back to relocation. If you can find a place that is exciting for you, that's energizing. If you can find a place, if you can find nature, like even if you're in the city,
mhm.
you need to find something green or blue to look at some stages throughout your day if you want to be able to clear your brain. Like, the research says that.
Mm.
Or you can be somewhere that has those things all around.
I was going to ask you, do you think with the admin, that also becomes, that also moves through those stages where you become really good at it and it's not as hard work on your brain and things like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely true. Yeah. And yeah, fun fact, something I discovered was we were really nice and we let people build up really slowly. And I like to let people do their own thing. And so I would say, look, get into up to, 15 shadow sessions a week when you start and do all this stuff. And then I had a run of people where I'm like, people were saying, oh, they're not really getting into sessions. And I was trying to work out, well, why wouldn't they do that? And then I saw a run of new therapists. This is probably 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, that they would get to 18 clients and be like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. 19, 18, 19, 20. They were super overwhelmed. And then they would get to full, which for us is 23 as a new grad, or 24 after that, and 25 for a senior. But they'd get to full, and a month after they were full, they look fine. And
Mm,
this is kind of what you're talking about. What happened was, when I just let them schedule their own schedule, they were spending 25, 30 minutes on writing a treatment note. They wanted the perfect treatment note. And
mm,
then they got to like 18, and you can't write half-hour treatment notes if you're seeing 18 kids. There's just not enough time in the rest of the day. So then they were really stressed about that. And then once they got to full, they just had to get more efficient. They had to get more concise.
mm,
And they could, and they did it. And so then once we realized that, we started giving them more guidance. All right, in your first couple of months, it should take you 15 minutes. And then by this time, it should take you 12 minutes. And then we want to aim for, 8 minutes is really what you want to aim for. And some will take a bit longer, but some will be quick. And now with Everbility, it's quicker than that too. But it was interesting to just realize that you can set really bad habits, and then that's hard to adjust. But also
mm,
just over time, like you're saying, once you get good at stuff, it goes more quickly. The other thing though, you do hear horror stories of people that put off writing their notes, and not Emily.
You
I
can't
saw
do
that post.
that. No, you can't do
You can't
that.
do that. No, but it's, there are different people, and notes don't come easily to everyone.
Mm.
And if you have 5 kids in the day, that doesn't seem like a big deal to leave it till the next day. But then you leave it till lunchtime, and then suddenly you've got 8 or 9. That almost feels overwhelming. And then if you're like, well, I can't look at it until the end, and get to the end of the day, and suddenly you've got 10 or 11. And then it's really hard. And what happens is you can bang out a note if you do it straight after the session so
Mm.
quick. You leave it till the half day, like you do your morning ones at lunchtime, you can do them pretty quick. You leave it to the end of day when you're exhausted, it's probably going to take you 50+% longer than if you did them earlier. You leave it till the next day, it's taking you twice as much time. So yeah, those habits are a big deal. And so we loosely have a 24-hour policy, as soon as possible within 24 hours. But
Mm.
if people are a little bit behind, I'm like, you need to do it the same day. You need to be kind to yourself and do it as soon as possible after
Yeah.
doing it while it's fresh in your mind.
Yeah, I just find I would completely forget. I would come to write and I'd be like, what did that child do again? It all starts to blur together. And particularly when you're a new grad and you're still not in that competence stage, it's very the progress note might be inaccurate, right? Because you can't remember what you've done with that child, or your notes might not be as concise as you need them to be, if you've got bits of paper everywhere or whatever. It's tricky then to make sure it's accurate.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
So I do like hearing that though, because I guess that's the difference. There's a little bit of difference there with OTs and speeches in terms of how we would do notes and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're always doing them after the session, but we try to get our girls to do them in the session. We have
Yeah.
templates, and it literally would be 2 minutes, unless they're a very complex child. But then I say to them, don't leave it till like they need to be done that day.
Yeah,
Not
you
not
can
the
often
same.
get stuff written down
Yeah, a
while the
lot
kid's right
quicker.
in front of you. That's often a little bit harder in OT. There are
Yeah,
some aspects that are possible,
yeah,
but yeah, it is a bit trickier. But we do a 50-minute hour. We have 10 minutes in between.
yeah,
So our therapists that are really on the ball will clean up the room and
yeah,
voice record into Everbility while they're
yes,
cleaning up in the room. And it's just like, just had a session with Johnny, blah, 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 blah.
yes.
Turn this into a soap note. And then, like magic, we've got a soap note waiting there. And it's usually really, really good. You still have to check it. It
Mm,
sometimes has some weird AI stuff.
mm.
Occasionally it says like and subscribe. It actually has said like and subscribe in.
Does it?
So AI, don't ever trust AI, but it's like an assistant. It's like having a
Mm,
student do your notes for you. You're not
yes.
going to just walk away and not check those notes.
No, 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 no. But all these things are really helpful in helping us become more efficient, right? And make the most of our time. Because we want to be effective with people, efficient with tasks, so we can spend the most amount of time doing what we love, which is being with our clients and with our
Mhm.
people and having those relationships. And I guess that's the difference. We had Dave speak at our Spa Central Coast event, and we got to go into your gym maybe like a couple of months ago and see all of your
Mm,
equipment and things like that. And it's very different, I guess, because you'd be having to set up big swings or big ropes and things like that and change between sessions. Whereas with speeches, it's sort of like get a game out, put it back in the cupboard. We don't have as much preparation in between sessions. But I think each discipline, though, has its own uniqueness in terms of how they help children. And that's when we all come together, it works, right?
it works. Yeah, it's good that we have all of us around.
Yeah. So I guess what do you think are the hard things when it comes to relocation? Or what have you experienced that was really hard for you?
Well, for me, it was not hard at all. It was once we
Okay.
made the decision was the hard part, and you never think you
Yep.
can do it. And it was so much easier than I thought. I did have some ideas actually earlier when you were talking about why people might not make the move.
Mm,
And that perception for certainly a young person starting their career around being able to afford a house or being able to save up for these sort of things. So I think people are staying at home a lot longer,
Mm,
And there are some absolute pros to that. And it's great to be around family and have the support of a family. Um, and financially, you get to save as well. Um, but as someone who moved out of home to go to uni and ate 2-minute noodles many nights of the week, there are also some really cool things about, and none of our therapists listening to this podcast are going to be, if they're renting, are going to have to eat 2-minute noodles. But I do get that it delays owning a house. For me, I think it kind of reminds me a little bit of those people who wait till they're 70 to travel around Australia. And then you go, are you really doing it with as much vigor? And you want to hope that you make it and all those sort of things. It's like, we're probably going to live to 100. The people listening to this podcast are going to own a house. Now, it might be a little bit slower if they leave home a bit earlier and do something exciting. Possibly, yeah, but it's a really, it used to be sort of a rite of passage, right?
mm,
You'd hit that sort of 18, 19 or 20 and you'd leave home and you'd do something, or you'd travel overseas and you'd do something.
mm,
Affordability does, so I think that's a challenge for people, but it is exciting and it is fun, and I do think it's great for well-being to be able to have that autonomy and that agency. And
mhm.
if you can do it somewhere around nature, that, nature is the key. I think we're all realizing we're getting sucked into our phones too much. We spend our days, particularly when you're, in winter and you turn up to work almost before light and you're leaving work, it's already
That's
dark, and, then you're exhausted by the week. You want to be able to see nature and be part of nature and find those mindfulness experiences and
mhm,
make the most of your time out of work as
mm.
well.
Yeah. I I think, with so I moved out of home, I think, when I was probably 22, 21, 22. Like, I had to live at home during uni because
Yeah.
I couldn't even afford a car when I was at uni. So, I can totally relate to that. And then when I moved out of home, um, that I only moved 10 minutes from where my parents were. So I used to go back to my parents' house, on the weekends and things like that. So it never really felt like a huge move, but it was good, for independence and all of that. The biggest move that we've had is moving up to the Central Coast. And obviously we did that with two kids. Yeah, I
Mm,
had two kids. I'm like trying to think, did I have one kid or two kids? I had two kids when I did that. And I think the biggest challenge that we found was community and finding new
mm,
relationships with people and new friendships. And particularly if you move from an area where you've grown up there, or or you've been in that area for maybe, I don't know, extended period of time, 10 years, or you did uni there 4 years, 5 years, it can be a little daunting. It can be a
mm,
little tricky, but um, I feel like our why for moving was bigger than the barriers, or bigger than those cons. And so then, when it was a little tricky, when you're sort of missing family or missing people that or missing being known, I guess, by people,
mm,
um, I was sort of just thinking, it's okay. It's okay because we're just in this season. We've just moved. We can't expect to, know people and have relationships and connections straight away. And it will take time. And so now that we've been here for almost 18 months, we now do have our community, and we do feel really settled with our relationships, and we've found people that are like-minded to us, and we sort of have have built and are building new relationships, but it takes time. And so that's what I found. I mean, I'm a female, so females are, like, we're always looking for our people and relationships, whereas Mackie was sort of, at work every day, and he still had our work team, and he was sort of
mm,
just like, well, I'm not, I'm working every day, so it's not as affecting him as much, as much. But, I think if you are thinking of moving, being aware of that and knowing, like, having expectations that, yeah, it may be hard. And this sort of goes back to what you're saying, when you're learning clinical skills, it's not going to be easy straight away. You have to push through sometimes, and
mm.
push through in hard things, because it will get easier, it will get better. And that for me was probably one thing that we found with relocating. And I didn't realize that it was going to be that hard. But yeah.
Yeah, we have a sort of a joke in our clinic that it's like a lot of the team will be like, all right, I got to do this. And like, I can do hard things. We're actually going to get t-shirts printed up for our next team retreat that says I can do hard things.
I like that.
But it's cool, right? And my favorite therapy phrase, and I got this from Colleen Hacker, who's a friend and mentor when I was in third year of my placement, is this is hard and you can do it. And I use that in therapy all the time because when you say it's easy, it's like, so what? Babies can do easy stuff. Kids don't want to do it more if you say it's easy because they feel like they can't. But if you
Mm,
say it's hard, actually they've got an out. If I don't do this well, it's okay not to be able to do hard things. So if you say it's hard, they
mm,
actually are more likely to do it. And then there's the nice affirmation and you can do it. And if you can get kids saying this is hard, but I can do it, and they're doing this rescue, you shift that kid power, that self-efficacy. And we
mm.
use it for ourselves here in the world, in the move about world, too. This is hard and we can do it, or I can do hard things is a mantra that we use. And yeah, look, I think that resilience piece to become
Mm,
stronger and to really face the world, having those little challenges that are a little bit scary, but you overcome them. That's
mm.
is it the Mandela quote? Courage isn't the absence of fear, but the
Yep.
like the to feel it and move through it anyway, to do it anyway.
Yes, yes. They
I
quote
just
that in a
butchered
movie.
that.
What movie is that?
I totally butchered that, but you get the point. It's feeling
Yeah.
the fear and being able to do it anyway. When you have enough of those things that are those little scary things and you overcome them, people are surprisingly resilient.
Mm.
So yeah, challenge people, and maybe for someone that challenge is um, trying a coffee that is a different flavor to what they're used to. But maybe that's the baby step that you're starting with. Maybe it's going for a holiday a little more often to a different place rather than the place you always go to, or trying a
Mm,
different meal on the menu. But people are capable. If they've got through a uni degree, you
yeah.
you can make a move and you can do it. And do you know how like almost everyone that I interview for the city clinic, I
Yeah.
tend to ask them if they've ever considered the Central Coast. Almost everyone has.
Really?
Almost everyone says, I would say maybe 75% say, oh, you know what? I've thought about doing it one day, but I just dot, dot, dot.
Mm, hmm.
And so there's probably not ever going to be a perfect time. And it
Mm.
usually takes that moment where you just crack it and say, right, I'm doing it. You get stuck in an hour 15 travel getting home when it should have took you 25 minutes, and you're like, that's it. Guess what? That's never happened to me on the Central Coast.
No, I love, I mean, I get shocked because obviously we've only been up here 18 months. I go back to Sydney now and I go, whoa, this is so intense. And I'm going back to Western City, like I'm not going back to the city or anything.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how your perspective shifts a lot. And sometimes that's what you forget, when you're sort of in one area. I think that's why travel is good as well. Like we would go overseas for 2 months at a time. And then you sort of go, oh, your perspective can shift. I think that also is a little step to help you if you're thinking about relocating. Just try and live away for a little bit, but it's not a permanent move
Mm-hmm.
just yet, just to see how you go. But I mean, travel's very different though to then living somewhere. But yeah, I can completely relate.
Um, yeah, and I guess the other thing I was thinking about is that people get very black and white about their
Mm.
work. So there's a lot of people that are a bit down on work. We talked about OT practices are struggling. I imagine speechies are too. I think I saw that the average speechie was even worse than an OT. Last time I checked, it was like lasting in a job for 1.3 years or something
Yeah,
like
it's very low. Yes.
very low. So people aren't satisfied, but I
Mm.
feel like we get this black and white thinking, this workplace is toxic, or I'm
Hmm.
not good enough, or I'm not cut out for India. I hear these all-inclusive things. And so what I would challenge people is to think more broadly about their work and their life, and they're one person. So
Mm.
those two things, it's never going to be just one of those things, but even work is complex. So did I tell you about the scorecard that we made?
No.
So we've pitched it at pediatric OTs, but it would be good for speech. It would be good for a lot of health professionals, not perfect for people outside of OT, but it's called Is Your Workplace Working For You? Or Is Your Pediatric OT Workplace Working For You? Is this version.
Mhm.
And really, we try and broaden what people think about in terms of creating a meaningful role, right? So it's not just pay, but it's also not just career growth, but it's not also not just PD, right? So we go vision and values, and we have questions around vision and values, career growth,
Mhm.
culture, work-life harmony, and finance, right? So
Mhm.
there's just five things. If you just before you make a decision about your role, you consider those five things and give it a score,
Mhm.
you're light years above everyone else.
Mhm.
But we have, five or so questions on each of those. And then at the end, you get a report that gives you either a high, medium, or low score and feedback based on that score that's individualized to what you do. And I think people fill it out and they feel like it's really good advice. So basically, we say, hey, if you're looking to stay in your role, here are some things you should chat to your employer about. If you're
Mhm.
looking to move on, here's what you should look for. Because a lot of times people pick one thing that they think is wrong with their role,
Mhm.
and then they change jobs and the three other things are at this new job as
Mhm.
well. And then they don't know why. We have three people working with us, and we were their third job in 15 months because they just didn't have great landing pads to start their OT careers.
Mhm.
So think more broadly and do think beyond just the dollars
Yes.
and cents or just a single thing. And if people, it sounds a bit fluffy, but you sort of alluded to it at the start. Vision and values are the key. I've never interviewed someone who, when I said, why did you get an OT? They didn't say, because I wanted to make a difference or because I
Mhm.
wanted to help kids and families. I want to make a difference in the lives of kids and families. Wanted to help people, right? So we
Mhm.
get into that because we have these values. We have this vision of how we want to change the world. And
Mhm.
then we land in a role where we feel like we're a cog in a machine. We're cranking out numbers. We're not noticed. Our opinions not respected.
Mhm.
We don't ever get to see trees, or whatever it is, right? So there's multi parts to it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think vision and knowing what your personal why you got into it and not
Mhm.
compromise. That's probably to me the biggest thing for burnout
Mhm.
is compromising your values. When you feel like you're not making an impact,
Mhm.
there's not enough dollars and cents that will sustain you and protect you from burnout long
No,
term.
and you're constantly misaligned,
Mm.
so that does never bode well long term if you're constantly misaligned.
Absolutely. Brené Brown has a free worksheet that just has a whole bunch of values on it. If
Mm.
you just put in Brené Brown values into
Mhm.
Google, it would come up with a whole page of values. And I often get people to look through that list and just underline any of them that are meaningful to you, and then
Yeah.
maybe circle the three that really jump out at you,
Mhm.
and just make sure that you feel like you can do those well where you're working. We do that often as a team
Yeah.
and just make sure that we're aligned with
Yeah.
our clinic values and everyone feels good.
It's so important because we're not just professionals, we're people. So we can't just be one person, a professional person in our work setting and then a different person on the weekends. That's just too difficult to be and to sustain long term as a professional. So it's so important that we are ourselves and we're
Mhm.
consistent. We can feel like we can bring ourselves to our workplace and also then be the same person outside of our workplace.
Well, masking is such a big topic
Mm,
in allied health at the moment. And like, really, that's what you're saying, right? If you
mhm.
have to show up to work and you have to mask and be something that's not true to your core,
Yeah.
big problems.
And I feel like a lot of that is from uni. Like even I was taught at uni, like you be this professional person, you put on this professional persona.
Mm.
And I feel like that's what we spend a lot of time breaking down when our new grads come in and they get a bit of a shock when they sort of see me talking to them. And then I'll turn and talk to somebody else exactly like, a client or a parent exactly the same way because they go, hang on, you're not being professional. And I say, I'm going to be myself because this is how
Yeah.
you stay in the profession long term and you feel like you're seen and you belong and you're valued for who you are and your contributions.
Yeah, and there are lines of professionality that you need
Yes,
to
yes.
watch, and you're not swearing at the parent, or
No,
as you
no.
probably are doing that. That's yourself, isn't it? I'm sure every day you're swearing like a trucker, but I mean, you're aware of how you're coming across, and you want to build
Yes.
trust and respect. But yeah, you can't connect if
Mm,
you're not being authentic. That's the other thing too. And you
mm,
can't communicate if you can't connect. That
mm,
message is not going to be received. Trust is not going to be
mhm,
built. So yeah, absolutely. But the problem is too, you also can't be thinking about everything. So you need to get your systems and structures in place when you're still in that learning phase and you're
mm,
still thinking about everything.
mhm,
Plan stacks ahead
mhm.
so that then you can be present when you're with the
Yeah.
person in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's lots of pros to relocating or thinking about that if you're wanting to. And I was going to ask you, where can people get that scorecard that you mentioned?
Mm.
Is
Yeah,
that
so
in your
that's our
website?
careers page. Yeah, so moveabout.com.au/careers.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of resources on that. Obviously, that's to get people to come work for us. But at the very top, there's a banner where you can click and go to the scorecard. And so that's
Mm.
completely unrelated to working for us.
Yeah.
You just fill that out and you get a score in each of those 5 categories and an overall score. And it gives you some guidance of how you can talk to people beyond that and what you can do and get support.
Yeah.
We also have another thing on there that's kind of cool. If you scroll down the page, we need to probably make it more prominent. There's a part that says the best place to work. Under that, we've got PDFs that you can click. Again, you don't have to put any details in. And it's the top 10 things to ask about your current or future workplace. And we
Hmm.
cover vision and values. We cover what the caseload is like, what
Hmm.
the caseload versus KPIs and the difference between those kind of things.
Yep.
Finances, making sure that they're not including super in the number that they're talking to you, and then you're comparing someone without super, or
Yes.
how the
Lovely point.
business
Thank you,
runs.
Dave. Yes.
Yeah, so there's just the 10 things that I think people should ask. And again, both of those things, well, so you do have to put an email in for the scorecard, but
Yeah.
you get that info back. The other one, you don't have to put any details in and you just get those tips. We just, Moveabout has an organizing principle that we support the people who support the kids. So that's
Hmm.
our families bringing their kids to us, because the goal of OT is not to be good at OT.
Mm.
But it's our own therapists because they're the ones supporting the families. And in the last few years, we've really made a concerted effort to go beyond our clinic. And really in the last 5 years to create resources to support our industry, particularly OT, but all of allied health. And we do that through free and paid webinars, through courses, through our social media, through
Yeah.
my book, through
Yes.
things like this scorecard and these resources, because people are just burning out in record numbers and good people, good
We need
people.
people to stay in the profession. We need
We
people
need
helping
people.
our children.
Yeah, we want people to be here for decades and decades. And it's such a good job. Like I
Yes. Very
love what we
rewarding.
do so much. That the thought of someone not loving it, the thought of, an OT not finding their occupation meaningful is a heartbreaker to me.
Yes.
So yeah,
Bit
it's
contradictory.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like I think everyone listening would really benefit from those resources. So we will put all those things in the show notes for everyone. But it's always good just to have a little bit of help. And if you're tossing up thinking things through, which is great, we're carving our paths intentionally rather than just letting the wind blow us wherever. It's good to have tools like this that Dave is talking about to help us give a bit of direction and give us some ideas and a fresh perspective sometimes for ourselves. Um,
And also, if you can have sort of, it might seem overwhelming to have 7 things that are not working for you in your role. But if
mm,
you know the 7 things, you can work on those and you can talk to you. And often, again, whoever employs you, I'm sure
mm,
they're a good person because they're an allied health professional and they want to keep you. And so if they can know those things, they'll do whatever they can to make those better. You have agency, you have control, but you got to have the knowledge to try and figure those things out. So if not
mm,
this, think more complex and really, really get clear on the things that aren't working for you.
mm.
And you can do hard things. I think that's the other thing I would tell to people as well.
I
You can
love
do
that.
hard things and
Yeah.
it's kind of fun and exciting.
It is. Mess is a part of mastery. We're not going to get to mastering something with having a perfect straight line. It's all that wiggles, that visual
Yeah.
that we see, all those twists and turns and pivots and failures, which you turn into opportunities and learnings to help you get better. It's never just one smooth, easy path. Unfortunately,
Never.
unfortunately.
But it makes for good stories though.
It does, doesn't it? Yes, it actually does. Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dave. It's been a really good conversation. If you are listening to this and you are interested more about burnout, relocation, vision, values, why, definitely check out Dave's resources. We also have loads of podcast episodes covering all these different topics. So you can make sure that you go back into the inventory and have a look at all of our past episodes as well. And I think, just set some time aside for yourself between now and the end of the year. Don't leave it to the 31st of December to actually reflect on your values, your why, your vision. And if you are unclear, reach out to Lizzie, Dave. They can reach out to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, I'm pretty active, and Insta, I'm somewhat active.
Yep. Maybe LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, I'm really good on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, and ask somebody, ask someone their story, ask someone for some advice. It sometimes you don't need to know all the answers. It's good to talk to someone who's walked that path before you and is a bit further down the road and can maybe have a little bit of perspective for you or just listen to you.
Can I
So,
give one more thing? Can
yes,
I throw
yes.
one thing I recommend to people is go visit places. So if you're thinking about making a change, maybe you're a new grad starting, or maybe you're thinking about switching roles, go and visit the place for half a day. And I always say stay through lunch and see how they talk to each other when
Mhm,
they're just hanging out, see how they share knowledge in their sessions, see how they talk about the boss and the workplace when they're not
mhm,
around. But really go and be part, like feel out the culture
mhm.
and see what you can do. And yes, you might lose a day's work if you go to visit a place or two, but it's a massive investment in yourself because the culture is key. And
Yep,
yeah, check out places. Do if you're thinking about, oh, I might take a move, do those little trips as well.
yep,
But
yep.
definitely visit places.
Yeah, that's really good advice. We did that too. We came up to the Central Coast so many times and just sort of stayed here for a couple of nights. I even worked up here for a long
Mm,
period of time before we moved, just to actually get a feel for the area and a feel for what's happening. And we encourage all of our people who are interviewing with us to do that as well, to stay in
mm,
our clinic, stay for as long as they want. We say stay at lunch when the
mm.
bosses aren't around, ask the employees the
Yeah,
questions. And, it's important that they feel comfortable. Like the interview or a job process is a two-way process. It's us making sure they're the right fit for our organization, but them making sure that we are the right fit for them. It's a win-win.
absolutely. It's hard to say goodbye. So yeah, I agree. I almost try and talk people out of working for us if they're coming because I want to make sure they're going to be with us for a long time.
Yeah,
It's hard to say goodbye.
it
So
is. It
yeah.
is. Well, thank you so much. Do you have any other last pieces of advice?
Well, yeah, I think get in your car and drive up the highway to the Central Coast. I feel like there's this big bit of bush that stops people. When I lived in Richmond, no one worried about driving to the city, and it was the same distance. Like it's like an hour to the city from the Central Coast, but
Mm,
something about that bridge and the bush that stops people. But
mm,
it's also, if you listen to Emma's video on the Our Coastal Lifestyle campaign, we didn't even talk about that campaign. Oh, we did a little bit.
mm,
But she says when I hit the exit,
mm,
I take a breath, and you see Plotty the dinosaur from the reptile park there on your left as you exit, and you're like, yes, I'm home. I'm in nature. I can
mm,
breathe,
mm.
and it's not that far. But it's a world apart.
I really was exactly the same. When she said that, that's exactly what I felt as I'm driving over the bridge. I'm like, big breath.
Absolutely.
Which you're home, right? So
You know, you're
it's,
home.
yeah, if you, and those videos are on your website, right? Or on your social media
They are
page.
not. And you know what? I just realized so they will probably be on our careers page as well. We'll make sure that
Okay.
there's a link to them. I will be talking to Elise after this. So probably by the time this podcast is up, yes, absolutely. You'll be able to find those.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I love chatting to you, and it's been, I think, such an insightful discussion for so many people. Like I said, if you have any questions, reach out. And thank you so much, Dave, for your time.
Thanks, Em.
All right. Until next time, everyone have a good week, and we'll be back next week for another episode.